Larry Scott, commissioner of the Pacific 12, right?
Right.
They still have 12 teams, or they have 10 now?
They have 12 as far as I know. They can count, unlike some of those other conferences that should go unnamed.
The Big Ten, yeah.
Right.
With what, 14 schools?
Right, the Big Ten with 14 schools, and they pride themselves on being like the academic, epicenter of all of college sports. Ivy League aside.
What would be the other academic other academic conference in college sports if it's not the Big Ten? I mean, the Power Five we're talking about here. I guess the Pac-12. Right?
I'd say the Pac-12. You have Stanford and Cal Berkeley.
Yeah, UCLA. UCLA. Slouch. USC.
Yeah, I think just Stanford and Berkeley alone, elevate that conference academically.
Yeah, that's let me just look here. I mean, Arizona State's obviously the party school.
Yeah, right.
Got to have one. I don't know. Other than Mike Wilson, he went to Oregon State, right?
But that's one of the schools that he cheers for.
I believe he actually went to Oregon State.
Okay.
He might be the only person I know that went to the other OSU,
right?
The West Coast OSU.
Right. Don't trademark infringe there.
Right. I don't want Oregon State or Oklahoma State and Ohio State to come after me.
That's right. You'll get a cease and desist in the mail.
Yeah, good God, I do not. Let me tell you something. I do not need any of those. My attorney already gets enough money for me from all this nonsense. So no cease and desist letters, please. I can't afford it.
Well, here's the funny thing to me. As we're going through this conversation, we're talking about really what amounts to these lofty academic expectations for a place like Stanford, and it takes something real academically on a high school transcript to get into Stanford. I'm assuming for all of the students that go there, football players included. It's not, you can't be a slouch to get into someplace like Stanford or probably even Cal Berkeley, but let's just kind of keep it to Stanford for the purpose of this comparison. So talking about the Big Ten elevating itself and considering itself to be like the epicenter of academia when it comes to Power Five conferences. Then you look over there at the Pac-12, and there are no slouches in that conference themselves. And something that I find interesting, at least recently, is the whole conversation that goes on with University of Virginia and how they're very strict and restrictive academic requirements to get players in.
That's a good school, though.
Yeah, it is. Well, it is. It's a great school. But
isn't that where the Kennedys went?
I don't know.
I think they all went to law school there. Not okay. John Kennedy, but the senator with Ted Kennedy.
Okay, all right. Yeah. It's an excellent school. But the narrative, the rhetoric, especially from a lot of their fans, is we'd be better at football, we'd win more if we weren't handcuffed so much by these academic restrictions. And then I look over there on the West Coast at Stanford, and maybe this is the case, but it doesn't strike me as such that Stanford has easier academic requirements to get in than, say, Virginia does. And Stanford, they have a pretty consistent history, at least recent history, of winning football games.
Well, wasn't that one of Harbaugh's complaints, is that he couldn't get the kind of kids in that he wanted because of the academic standards at Stanford?
Yeah, that was one of his complaints. But he won there. Other coaches have won there. Is it easy? No, absolutely not. But it can be done. So when I hear other schools like Virginia complaining that their academics is what holds them back from being successful in football, I don't know. I don't have a whole lot of sympathy for them, all while understanding the limitations that can put on a program.
Okay, so let's think about it this way. What are there, 125 FBS schools?
It sounds about right.
Something like that?
Something like that.
Yeah, it's got to be close to there. In any given year, at the beginning, in August or September, whenever the season starts, what are we, like 32 days away? So I guess that's September, right? I'm not a mathematician. I went to Catholic school.
Yeah.
So
Labor Day weekend.
Labor Day weekend. That's, what, Seth? That's the best way to put it. How many of the 125 do you think have a legitimate chance, not of winning the national championship, but winning their conference?
winning their conference.
Right.
Yeah, I know you're
That's
asking
a
me
little more
this.
complicated, right?
Yeah, you're asking me a question that I haven't thought about until this specific moment in
Right.
time. So, my gut reaction is probably 10.
Okay, so I would say a legitimate chance. I mean, and remember, we're not just 125, so we're not just talking about the Power 5 schools. We're talking about all the FBS conferences.
Okay. All the FBS conferences. I don't know. Let's double it and say 20.
Okay, so I would say
Have a legitimate chance.
Yeah, I would say closer to 35, maybe 40, right? Just
Okay,
because
it's
of,
reasonable.
Just because of all the nonsense that happens in like the Conference USA and the Sun Belt and all those other conferences that the rest of us don't really talk about or think about or whatever.
Yeah.
And obviously, I have no idea how good Memphis is or anybody else. And of those, and we'll split the difference between 35 or 40 and 20. We'll say 30. Of those 30, how many do you think have a legitimate chance of getting to the playoff?
Getting to the playoff? Let me think about this.
And keep in mind all the restrictions that we already have about what conference can get what teams in and all this other stuff. So
right.
I mean, that significantly limits the number of teams you can say here.
Yeah. So at this point in the conversation, I'm now only considering schools that play in a Power 5 conference.
Okay.
And so I'd probably say 6 to 8.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I was going to say 10. So I mean, I think that we're right in the ballpark. So my point in doing this mathematics lesson with you here is the people in Virginia are not in that 10.
No.
And they're probably, and if we're going to be frankly honest, they're not in that 30 either. At least not right now.
No, not right now.
So I think that what a lot of fans and actually it's usually just the fans, I think that where their beer goggles are on is that they think that their team can go out and consistently beat not the Ohio States and the Alabamas, but even the Michigan States and we'll even say the Oregons of the world. And they can't.
Okay.
It's just not going to happen. And I'm not saying Oregon's great this year. I mean, they were 4-12 or whatever last year, or 4-9 or whatever last year. And Michigan State lost 4 or 5 games last year also. But I would say that any given year, within the past 10 year, either one of those programs, and obviously Oregon, who played in a national championship, can get from the number 5 team in their division to their conference's playoff. And I would say the same thing about Michigan State. But I can't say the same thing about Virginia.
No, not right now. Absolutely
not. I can't say the same thing about Virginia, but even in the past 15 years.
Right. I was going to say the Barber brothers, Tiki and Rondé, aren't walking through that door again for Virginia.
Right. Correct. I mean, now, and it's interesting because, right, we always, and we'll just stay in the state of Virginia here, we always talk about Frank Beamer and Beamer Ball, and I was obviously the conductor of the train that said that he should have left, 5 years before he did.
Yeah.
I was out front of that train. Everybody told me, he's been there forever, and tradition. No one cares about tradition, because if people cared about tradition, he'd still be coaching there, right? People care about winning and losing. And when you're good, or when you've been around for a long time, and your team isn't absolutely terrible. By the way, Virginia Tech, you were absolutely terrible all those years that he was there, those last 5 years. It's time to change it up, And now,
agree.
Right, and we'll talk about the ACC, a couple days or a week or whatever from now. Now they have a legitimate chance to win that conference because they changed something. They changed the leader of their program and new culture and new everything.
And they not only changed the leader of the program, but by all accounts, they made a smart hire in who they chose in Justin Fuente.
Exactly. Now, I don't know if Justin Fuente is going to be there that long. I don't know if he's going to go to Alabama. I don't know if he's going to go to Florida State. I don't know if he's going to go to Auburn. But my suggestion would be for the people at Virginia Tech to do whatever they have to do to hold on to that guy as long as possible. Because unless he stays there, I'm not necessarily sure that that program at this point is in the best state that it can be in. And I don't know how attractive that job is if it opens up in the next 5 or 6 years, unless Fuente has done something significant with that program.
Yeah, and I think something else that's part of this conversation, Damian, is when let's let's describe Beamer as kind of like the grandfather of Virginia Tech football. Maybe there was some other legendary coach in their program's history. I don't know. I don't know about it though. Okay, so Beamer is pretty much Virginia Tech football, and even with the regard and the esteem that program and the fan base held him to and held him in, when push came to shove, the people making the decisions within that university and the athletic department in particular, they knew the reality of where their program stood in the hierarchy of college football, because they didn't appear to make some grand push to pull Pete Carroll back to college football or something like that. No, they went to Memphis and got Justin Fuente from Memphis. A lot of other bigger, more prestigious programs, if they would have done that, they would have been laughed at. But Virginia Tech knows who they are, and kudos to them for
Here's
that.
the thing, though. I mean, this is going to sound crazy, and I've also been on the front of this train. I think Texas did the same thing when they hired Tom Herman. I think that Tom Herman and Justin Fuente are the same thing. I think they're the exact same thing. I think that a lot of people put a lot of stock in Herman because it was at Ohio State. He did very well at Houston his first year, right? And he obviously had a very good quarterback. And I'm not saying last year was an aberration on how good of a coach he is, but I think it's a hell of a lot different when you're coaching at Houston, and then when you go to Texas. I think that everything triples in size, and in his case, everything gets bigger when you go to Austin as opposed to when you're in Houston.
Yeah, and I mean I think here's the other component to Texas going after Herman. I think Herman has this great pedigree. He was hugely successful as an assistant coach at Ohio State. He had a ton of success at Houston, and a lot of coaches, a lot of solid coaches, not necessarily great coaches, but a lot of solid coaches have had success at using Houston as the stepping stone. Like Kevin Sumlin comes to mind.
Coach has gone through Utah.
And the guy at Texas Tech, I can't think of his name right now.
Kingsbury, Kirk, was it Cliff or whatever?
Yeah, Kingsbury.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah. But both of those guys are solid coaches. Not great, but solid. So, that's a good job to use as a stepping stone. But I think what made Herman so attractive to Texas is at least the perception that Herman is able to recruit his butt off, because I think that's what really went downhill for Texas when in Mac Brown's final couple of years there, was Brown wasn't getting the players, particularly at quarterback, that he was getting prior. He wasn't getting the Vince Youngs. He wasn't even getting the diamonds in the rough, like say a Chase Daniel who wound up at Missouri, and there are all these other examples that we could point to that had successful college football careers as quarterbacks that came out of the state of Texas. Yeah, Manziel, that came out of the state of Texas that either Mac Brown didn't want any part of at all, or he saw them play quarterback in high school and decided, no, you can't have success at the collegiate level in the Big 12 at the University of Texas as a quarterback, so I want to make you into a safety or a wide receiver or something else. So I think that's one of the components that made Herman so attractive to Texas was, on paper, his ability to recruit.
How many years does Nick Saban have left at Alabama?
What, he's early to mid-60s right now?
Yeah, I should know this, right?
I want to say he's like 63 or 65, something like that.
Right.
But he's no older than 65.
He is 65 exactly. Remember, his birthday is Halloween.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's Halloween, October 31st, 1951.
Yeah, and he haunts the SEC and all of those other schools in it.
Right.
Yeah, but like Saban being 65, I'd say he has 3 to 5 years left, and I say 3 to 5 because I think he could absolutely coach until he's 70. But I still stand by the opinion that I've stated time and time again that once he wins another national championship at Alabama, I think that's it for him there, and he calls the end of his career there on his own and kind of rides off into the sunset. And that kind of pushes him past Bear Bryant, to some extent, at least as far as the championships go, I think. So I think whichever comes first, the next national championship for him at Alabama or 3 to 5 years down the road.
Okay, so I'm gonna actually I want to rotate back to something you just said.
Right.
So you live in Missouri, right? or Kansas.
Yeah.
Right. I don't even know where you are today.
The Kansas City metro area.
Okay, so you have like 5 homes, so I have no idea where you are.
I pay my taxes in Kansas, though.
Okay, all right. You know what? That's the deciding factor because you can vote in multiple places, and I know you do.
I only vote in one place, actually.
Good answer.
Yep.
So I guess who is the youngest sort of passionate college football fan you know? You don't have to name that person, but do you know somebody like in their 19 or 20 who's kind of a follower, like a loose follower of college football?
I'll be honest. I don't know 19 or 20-year-olds anymore.
Okay. So
I really don't.
So here's my point, because you just brought up a name that obviously as an Alabama fan, remember, 93 Sugar Bowl, means a lot to me. But I think that a lot of younger people lose touch with, and this kind of goes back to recruiting and Nick Saban. Do you think younger people who are not like 100% in tune with college football know who Bear Bryant is?
Oh, no.
Right.
No way.
So you brought his name up.
Well, let me put it this way, Damien. Is Bear Bryant, or has Bear Bryant ever been on Twitter?
No, he's dead. Of course not.
No. Then those younger people have no clue who he is.
So my point here is that, and obviously you and I are older, and we are college football fans, and Nick Saban is older than both of us, and obviously coaches at the University of Alabama. He's got a statue there and all this other stuff, blah, 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 blah. Do you think he cares one bit about Bear Bryant?
He
might fake it, but do you think he actually gives an Alabama damn about Bear Bryant?
In and of itself, no, he doesn't care about Bear Bryant. But I think what he does care about, and what he is passionate about, whether he would admit this or not, but I think it's what fuels this is his competitive nature. Is he cares an awful lot about his legacy and being the absolute best.
All right, so let's do this. Nick Saban, Urban Meyer, 1-2. Best active college coaches, right? Would you agree with that or disagree?
I'd agree with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's number 3?
Give me a little bit of time to think about this.
Okay. I'm going to throw some names out there. You pick number 3. Jimbo Fisher.
All right. That's a good choice.
Les Miles, which you can call him active or not if you want. I don't care how you spin it, but 2 national championships. So
and arguably the best coach that LSU ever had. Well, aside from Saban, but Saban didn't have this kind.
Who was the guy before them though? There was a guy from like 1,000 years ago,
like Arnsparger,
or something like that. I don't know if he won any national championships, but he is very, up there because remember their battles with Ole Miss. What's that guy's name?
I think it's Arnsparger.
Yeah, you're
because he spent some time as their AD also. I think.
Correct. Hang on. Of course, of course, I'm like lost in Bill Arnsparger. Yep.
Okay.
Good call. SEC Coach of the Year, AP SEC Coach of the Year, 84, 86. I feel like there was somebody, McClendon maybe? Yeah, McClendon.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, I think he might be sort of the head coach from 62 to 79. That's what I think I'm thinking of, is that guy. His record is 137 and 59. One SEC championship, no national championship. That might be the guy I'm thinking of.
All right, so it's a similar resume as Miles, except Miles has been to more national championships.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. Right. So obviously we're splitting hair about who the best
right.
is. But
yeah, Les Miles.
Yeah, I would throw Les Miles up there.
I would include Dabo Swinney in this conversation also. And in the past, I probably wouldn't have. But the reason I would include him is because when he took over that program, one, there are a lot of people that didn't want this no-name coach taking over that Clemson program. And the Clemson program wasn't getting to national championship games when he took over that program. So, what he built there, what he built there in the shadow of Florida State, I think is incredibly impressive.
So I was at Mid-Ohio, the Mid-Ohio IndyCar race this past weekend, and my friend Jake, who I went to Clemson with last year, I don't know if you remember that, is obviously...
I remember that trip that you took.
He's obviously a Clemson fan, and we had this conversation here about if Dabo would replace Nick Saban at Alabama. I said no. He says yes. He says he's a goner. I think he stays. But I think in relation to this, and we'll get to that question in a second because it's all tied in together, unpopularly, I think that Dabo is a better coach and recruiter than Jimbo Fisher. If I had to pick between the two, I'd take Dabo Swinney.
Yeah, I would be hard pressed to disagree with that because not Dabo, Fisher. I mean he's at Florida State. I mean it's tough to mess that up. What he walked into there, even if Florida State was down at the time, Florida State being down is different than Clemson's program being down.
Yeah.
And what Dabo Swinney did, I think is pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
And at least going into this season, it's not like it was just the success was a flash in the pan. I mean, he's built something over time and he's sustaining it. And to sustain it doesn't mean he has to get to the national championship game every year. But I mean, I think it certainly means that he has that Clemson program in the conversation each year to be a playoff team. And if not that, they're certainly in the conversation to win the ACC year in and year out.
All right, so before I continue here, I need to correct myself. Les Miles only has the one national championship, not two. I was thinking Urban Meyer win.
But he lost one. He lost one.
He has two appearances. But I was thinking two national championships. Obviously, I was thinking of Urban Meyer, who had the two at Florida. If you're Dabo Swinney and that job at Alabama opens up where you played, do you take that job or do you stay? Right now. You have to answer this right now. You get a phone call from whoever their AD is now. I know Mal Moore's passed, so I know it's not him anymore, but whoever the new guy is.
Right now, if it happened now, if I'm Dabo Swinney, I'm staying put at Clemson.
If it happens in 5 years.
If it happens in 5 years.
And you're still successful at Clemson.
A lot can change with conferences in 5 years. So sure. I think, I think if, I am Dabo and I've had continued success at Clemson, maybe, and at that point he would have been there how many years? Because there's not.
Yeah, but 10 years, right?
There's your 10-year rule about staying at one place. So I think if I'm him, I'm probably thinking about, going to Alabama. I mean, there's something to be said for being selected to be the head football coach at Alabama. I mean, that's prestigious. That's a sign that you are highly respected in the profession and you've had a ton of success.
Okay, so Dabo's been at Clemson since 2003, the head coach since 2009. So actually the 10-year rule is actually coming up. In 2 seasons, this season and then next season. So 2020, it's time to go. In my eyes, it's time to go. I don't know if he agrees with that. He is only 47 years old, November 20th, 1969. So 48 in a few weeks here. By the way, it's almost Thanksgiving. Are you ready?
It's almost Thanksgiving. What?
Hey. So somebody yesterday told me, I was refereeing basketball, and they had the doors open, the garage doors were open, and we're looking outside, and it was like 8:30, and it was dark, like getting dark, and they're like, well, summer's over. And I'm like, summer's over? It's not over until like September.
Right.
We have like, what is it? Puxatawny Phil just saw a shadow. We have 6 more weeks of summer, right?
Yeah, I mean.
Like, what is going on with these people? Why are they trying to get rid of summer so fast?
Right.
Because it's dark at 8 o'clock?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not buying my kids any back-to-school clothes for when they're with me because as far as I'm concerned, until the end of September, they're wearing shorts to school.
Right. That's true. When your kids go back? Next week?
A week or two, yeah.
Yeah. So one of my friends in Alabama, their kid's already back. They go back this week. How crazy is that?
They get out sooner also that way.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's ridiculously hot there in May, so I get it.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. Anyway, back to
Dabo,
Alabama. Yeah. So
Alabama.
If it's me, I am with you in some aspects, but here's what I told Jake. I was like, Have you not seen Alabama football? A legend following the legend? It never works out for any of those guys. None of them. Now, I know none of them has been Dabo Swinney, but Bear Bryant, right? Didn't work out well. And who's going to come after? And who's going to come after Saban? I mean, it's just so tough. And I said, well, what about his system, Swinney's system? I said, is he gonna leave his system there and just adapt to what Saban had, or is he going to change it all up? Because you are who you are. I mean, you've been a head coach in Division I for 10 years, and it's hard for you to just literally change everything. Now, I know if you're just stepping in to something else and you're filling in, then you're filling in. But are you coaching your team or are you coaching his team?
Yeah, that's a good point. And if I'm Dabo, I'm going to tell Alabama that you're looking at me for a reason. You're considering me for a reason. You're offering me the job for a reason because I've been highly successful and I've won at least one national championship, been to at least one other. So I did all of that with my system. My system can win. It's not Nick Saban's, but different systems are capable of winning. So if I'm Sweeney and I'm being brought in, and they're going to tell me I have to run somebody else's system, well, that's probably a deal breaker for me.
Okay, so unpopular opinion here. I'm going to say this now. I'm going to say this in 2 years. I'm going to say this when Saban retires. If I am whoever the search committee is at Alabama, I'm going to find a young coach who can run Saban's system for a year or two while they develop their own and hope and pray that they can kind of keep us in the same zip code that we've been in for the past 15 years.
That's not unreasonable. Not at all. Because I think when the time comes that Saban does leave Alabama, the rest of the SEC West, they are going to have even more of a bullseye, more of a target on the back of the Alabama program, because they can go out and recruit and say, hey, Nick Saban isn't there anymore. There's no guarantee that if you go to Alabama that you're going to have that kind of success. So you can come to LSU or Ole Miss or Auburn or Arkansas or wherever, and you can be part of the program that finally leapfrogs Alabama and knocks them off of their pedestal.
Yeah, I don't know. It's all difficult. I don't know. I feel like it's a crapshoot.
Oh, it absolutely is a crapshoot because just because any coach has been successful at one school or not so successful at one school, that doesn't automatically translate into the same type of success or failure at another school. There are so many other parameters and characteristics to it, because let's face it, when Saban was at Michigan State, he wasn't having this kind of success. When Saban was at LSU, even though he did very well there, he didn't have Alabama type of success at LSU either. So you're always rolling the dice when you're hiring a new football coach. I think demeanor, personality, demeanor, all of that stuff plays into whether or not a particular coach is a good overall fit for a particular job.
Do you think USC is the best team in the Pac-12 South?
On paper, yes. But we have this conversation year in and year out around this time of the year. Don't we, Damian? Every year. No, USC, look at all of that speed they have. Look at all of that NFL talent they have on that roster. They are going to be phenomenal this year. And then they usually crap the bed.
Who's their head coach?
Clay Helton? Or Chris
Clay.
Helton? I forget.
Clay. Yeah.
Clay?
Yep,
all right.
Yep, Clay Helton. I'm still not impressed with that.
No, I mean,
look, I hope I'm wrong.
No, it's not great, but
you know what? Actually, hang on. I'm going to interrupt you here.
It's
you know what? This is USC doing exactly what I just said I would do if I were the athletic director of Alabama. This is the exact same thing.
It is.
And you know what? Now that I put it in that context, I'm okay with this. Honestly, I am. I never thought about it until we just had this conversation.
He's not doing a bad job there, but it's not like he's the first coach to not have that roster of talent live up to expectations. USC, they are who they are. For better or worse, they are who they are, which, I think gets into a conversation that you and I had a few months ago after I was in the Southern California area and drove by the UCLA campus, and I came back from that trip saying to you and pretty much everybody else, how is UCLA not better at football than they are? How are they not just a powerhouse in everything? The campus is absolutely beautiful, right in the middle of Beverly Hills. So based on the level of mediocrity that USC always manages to pull themselves down to, how has UCLA not, grabbed USC by the pants leg and pulled them down even further and leapfrogged them?
Well, I will say because no one trusts Jim Mora. I don't think he's a great football coach.
Possibly not. Possibly not. That's not unreasonable.
Plus, when USC was bad, instead of banking on Rick Neuheisel, in all seriousness here, they should have gone and found the biggest name possible, even if that person was a terrible game coach, and brought him in to be a great recruiter. And I think that's where they missed their 5-year window.
Yeah. I absolutely agree with that. Because depending on the program, and I've thought a lot about this, but never talked about it, and certainly haven't written about it. But depending on the program and where they are at a specific point in time while hiring a new coach, there are some programs that are better off hiring a coach who knows the X's and O's because the institution basically recruits itself. But then there are other programs, and I'll use Missouri as an example of this. On the football side as well as the basketball side, if you're a school like Missouri, you're not winning year in and year out. And it's really because you don't have the players up and down your roster to compete. You don't have the talent. So if I'm a Missouri, if I'm in Missouri, I'm going out, I'm finding the best darn recruiter I can find to get me the players and then worry about the coaching after that. And that's kind of what Jim Sturk, the AD at Missouri, did with hiring Conzo Martin as the new basketball coach. His X's and O's, his ability to manage that part of the game has always been in question. But the guy can recruit, and this recruiting class that he's brought into Missouri, the level of talent, if it stays healthy, it will mask a lot of those deficiencies and help pull Missouri basketball back up. And hopefully, once the time comes that Martin leaves, that program is on much better solid footing, and kids want to play there. Top tier talent wants to play there. So then you go out and you get that coach who specializes in X's and O's. And I think that same conversation translates over to the football side.
All right, folks, mark the time. We made it 35 minutes without a Missouri sidebar there. So I think that's actually the longest we've ever gone. So just go ahead, mark the time, 35 minutes in, Missouri.
If we had Bird on this, he probably would have talked about Auburn before, the 30-minute mark or so.
Bird's not here.
I give him a hard time about that on the SEC 411. So, you give me a hard time about that all you want. I'll gladly take it.
Okay. Where was I? Okay, so
UCLA.
USC, are they going to win the Pac-12 South? Is that your pick for the Pac-12 South? By the way, we're talking about the Pac-12. That's where we were supposed to have been for 25 minutes, but we're just getting here now.
No, I'm not taking USC in the Pac-12 South. I know better. I've been burned by picking them in the past.
Mm-hmm. So who do you have? I'm checking account. I'm going to look at how many Thursday night games I have. That'll tell me who the winner is.
All right, hold on a minute. Just so I don't speak out of turn, I want to make sure that I know who is in that division of the Pac-12.
Yeah, USC, UCLA, Utah, Arizona State, Colorado. So the southern schools of that conference, which is because they actually have their schools are actually geographically aligned.
Sorta.
I know that's weird for an SEC guy. For that to actually make sense.
Based on what I've seen from all of these schools lately and the coaches in particular, I'll take Utah.
No,
I'll take Utah.
Absolutely not.
I'm not taking USC. I'm not taking UCLA. I'll take Utah, Arizona, and Arizona State, but both of them probably have coaches on the hot seat right now. Colorado, while they were great last year, they don't have Jim Leavitt as their defensive coordinator anymore.
Yeah, he's at Oregon now, right?
Yeah. So I'll take Utah. I think that's the safest pick. The smartest pick, probably not, but I think the safest pick.
Utah loses to UCLA or USC, and they probably lose to UCLA. To be honest with you, There's no way they beat USC. Who's their quarterback? They don't even have a didn't their quarterback just graduate? Didn't he just get drafted? Utah?
Probably. But I think
No.
I think they're a more solid footing. I think they're better coached. So UCLA should win that division. UCLA is a team that should win that division, but I don't trust them enough to pick them.
UCLA?
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
Yeah.
You know, what's the name of their quarterback that I like? What's that
Rosen.
kid's name?
Isn't it?
Yeah, is he? Yeah,
He's still there.
Yeah,
He's still there. I mean,
Josh Rosen.
yeah,
right?
Josh Rosen. I mean,
But he was hurt half the year.
yeah,
Right?
he was hurt. He was hurt half the year, and I mean, he still has developmental growing up to do on the football field. And until I see it, I'm not going to assume and trust that it's going to be there.
All right, November 18th, UCLA at USC. Who you have?
It's a coin flip for me, but I
Flip a coin and pick one.
I'll take UCLA in it.
Okay, I'll take USC by default. Loser sings the other team's fight song.
All right, sure.
So
I'll have a fight song to learn either way.
Yeah, fight on. So just be prepared to sing that. Okay, let's talk about the North. You need me to go over these teams?
Yeah,
or you okay? I'll go over them.
I have them in front of me. I have them in front of me. Yeah.
All right. So I think the default answer here is Washington because they were in the playoff last year.
Right.
They're probably in everybody's top 10, if not top 5.
They're not going to be my pick in the North.
Oh, boy, here we go. You're going to say Stanford, aren't you?
Nope, I'm going to say Oregon.
Oregon, yeah.
Yep.
You're in love with those uniforms.
They're nice uniforms, but that's not why.
Beer goggles.
You know, I don't
or whiskey goggles. Sorry.
Yeah, no ice.
Neat.
Yeah, neat. You know, I don't think that Helfrich should have been fired from there.
He shouldn't have been hired. He shouldn't have been hired.
But he had success there, and he was still recruiting well there. So I'm not the biggest Willie Taggart fan for that Oregon job, but he has a decent quarterback. There's talent there, even though I think the Carrington kid had to be kicked off or suspended indefinitely or something like that. There's talent there. There's definitely talent there, and I think that Oregon turns it around this year, and I think I would have made this pick even if Helfrich still would have been there.
You know their head coach is Willie Taggart, right?
Yeah, I do.
You do know that, right?
I think it's going to be the type of tenure where this year and next year he probably has some pretty high level success because of what he's being left with. But you know, once that talent has filtered its way through the program and it's completely up to him and his program, I think the wheels fall off a little bit, similar to what we saw with Will Muschamp when he was at Florida.
All right, so Oregon, October 14th, 21st, 28th, November 4th. Stanford, UCLA, Utah, Washington, 1, 2, 3, 4. Absolutely not.
They don't have to win all of those games to win the North, I don't think.
Well, no, the only team that they face that's in the North there is who is it? Stanford and Washington, right?
Yeah. They don't play USC at a conference.
Either one of them. You think Oregon's going to beat Washington?
If they don't beat Washington, they'll at least beat Stanford.
Well, Stanford's before Washington, so I mean.
All right.
So you think they're going to beat Stanford and lose to Washington, and they're still going to win the Pac-12?
Possibly. There's always crazy stuff that goes on in the Pac-12. You know, and Washington could wind up, losing to somebody like Arizona or Arizona State and, give those teams hope for the future. Who knows? It's the Pac-12. Yeah, I'm taking Oregon.
Final answer.
Yeah, final answer. Oregon.
Or?
No. I thought about this before we started recording this.
You're incensed that I suggested that you call and ask for backup on this.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who I would call. I mean, you're the person I call, but you're on this podcast with me.
Wow.
So who are you taking in the North?
Washington.
Washington? It's a good pick.
It's solid.
Yeah.
Right, so who do you have? Oregon?
Yeah, I have Oregon.
All right.
I have Oregon and Utah.
All right, November 4th. Who wins? Oregon's at Washington. Who do you have? You have Oregon, obviously, right? Here we go. Flip flopper. Swift boat rider.
I might take
Mr. Carey. Make a pick and stick with it.
I'll take Washington in that because
Senator Carey has arrived, folks.
Yeah.
Senator John Kerry has
road game. I'll take Washington in that head-to-head matchup, but I don't think that gets in the way of Oregon winning the division.
So you're still sticking with Oregon, huh?
Yeah, I'm still sticking with Oregon.
I mean, I tried to give you like 15 minutes there to kind of, I would have edited the audio there for you and kind of, worked it out.
I marinated on it. I'm still going with Oregon and Utah.
Are you taking Tennessee in the SEC?
No. You know better than to ask me that.
Florida.
Yeah, I am going to go with Florida.
Now everybody's on the Florida train. Oh, okay. I wonder who picked Florida last year when everybody got laughed at.
You did. No, I'll
only one.
Yep, I'll take Florida this year in the SEC.
Oh, now you're taking Florida.
Yep,
my dad Tennessee this year.
Oh, you do that.
Interesting.
I mean, the head coach may not even make it the full season.
Where?
At Tennessee.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Florida.
No.
Hey, you never know. Anybody can get fired at any time.
Yeah. You never know when that's coming. or sometimes you do and you just ride it out.
That's always ride it out.
Yeah.
Always. All right, so what's going on in Oklahoma? They going to win anything? Who's going to win the what is it? The Big 12? I'm so confused. Yeah. The Big 12.
The Big 12 with 10 teams
and the Big 10 with 14.
Right. Big 12.
Just tell me who's going to win because we're not even supposed to be talking about them today.
All right, Oklahoma State.
Oh my God! All right, so I'm not even going to address that right now. So here's one that I saw this on Twitter the other day. They're talking about the Big Ten legends and leaders, and then what are they, East-West now? This is actually really funny. So. Somebody on Twitter said, I wish they had just called the names of the divisions in the Big Ten red and non-red. Because aren't all the teams with red in one? Put all the teams with red in one division, and everybody else non-red.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah, that is funny.
Red and non-red. That's hilarious to me. Aren't there like 6 teams that are red that have red in their uniforms?
Probably
Ohio State, Nebraska,
Rutgers,
Wisconsin, Rutgers,
Maryland.
Indiana.
Do you want to Indiana? Do you want to throw Minnesota in with that?
Sure, that's red. Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
No, you got to. I mean, you got to have 7 and 7. So yeah, they have to be red.
Minnesota. Right. Yeah.
I mean, you literally have 7 teams that are red and non-red. I think that they should do that. I think when they reconfigure this in like 3 years, they should go red and non-red, and then we have Ohio State and Michigan on opposite sides of the bracket every year, which is great.
Yeah, I mean, rework that conference according to feng shui.
Yeah, it would be like the SEC where nothing makes sense.
Yeah,
where Auburn should be in the East, and Missouri should
be in the West. Yeah,
and I don't need to see Alabama and Tennessee every year, and I don't need to see Georgia and Florida every year. Although that might be the most entertaining of the SEC rival games. I know it's not the Iron Bowl, but the world's largest outdoor cocktail party, or whatever they call it now, it's pretty entertaining. I wish they didn't play in Jacksonville.
Where would you want to play?
On
campus?
Yeah, on campus. Yeah, I don't need to see it neutral every year. It's Jackson. First of all, nobody likes Jacksonville. There's a reason why the Super Bowl's only ever been there one time, and it was a monsoon. And no one cares about halfway. I mean, why? Who wants to go to Jacksonville? You know what that is? It's like going to Orlando or Cape Canaveral. 3 of the worst cities in Florida.
I've never been to Florida at all. So
let me tell you something. If you're going to go to Florida, don't go Oceanside. You're wasting your time. Okay?
All right.
Golf. Go to Tampa. Go to St. Pete. Fort Myers, which obviously I endorse. You can even do Panama. Panama City. Panama City, not Panama. That's not in Florida.
This is the travel agent segment of the podcast.
Yeah. Hey, look. We have all kinds of segments here. We are full of segments. Full of something. That's for sure.
We're full of something.
Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about while we're here?
I got time. Wise or
whatever. Talk about whatever you want.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about the Pac-12.
All right.
How much confidence do you have in Todd Graham at Arizona State?
None.
Or Rich Rod at Arizona?
None. Do you think both coaches get fired by the end of the year? Do I? I think one of the two is gone. Thanks for stopping in.
The distinct possibility that one or both of them get fired. Yeah.
My pick is a funny headset guy.
Which one is that?
Graham.
Graham?
Yeah. Remember he wears that like he's a opera singer or whatever? Headset like he's an opera singer.
I don't remember that.
Remember I used to ask Mike, I was like, when are you going to ask Todd Graham about this headset that he wears? Why can't he wear like a full headset? And he won't do it. He won't ask him.
I don't remember that. I mean, I trust that you did ask, but
oh, absolutely. He goes, oh yeah, I'm going on campus and I'm going to talk to Coach Graham or Todd or whatever the hell they call him. I don't know. They're like best friends or something. And I'm like, are you going to ask him about this headset? He goes, I can't. I say, yes, you can. Just ask him. What's the worst that happens? They tell you can't come back. Wow, big whoop. They're going to lose anyway. I can tell you the record. It's like the Browns. I know the record 8 out of 10 times.
Yeah,
it's not difficult. Coach Graham, can you get a real headset? Maybe you can hear what's going on upstairs. Actually, he probably doesn't need it because there's no one ever at the game, so maybe that's why he wears a mini headset.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. They're all out. All the people at Arizona State are out picking up men and women at the bars. They're not watching football.
Yeah, it is a party school, like we said.
Isn't it the top party school in the country?
It sounds about right.
Texas, Arizona State, Ohio State. Probably throw Cal in there. The nerds like to party.
Yeah. All right. So you brought up Ohio
Who's your
State
Pac-12
again.
team? Who's your Pac-12 team? Hang on. Who's your Pac? I mean, if you had to have a team in the Pac-12 that you would root for, buy stuff for, who would it be?
Probably Stanford.
Oh my God, you're a tree guy, huh? I'm a Cal guy. Give me the nerds.
No. I mean, the truth of the matter is, Damien, I don't think a whole lot about the Pac-12.
No one does.
Well, because I mean, their games are on well after my bedtime. So, I mean, I know there's some good football that goes on there, but I don't watch any of the games, so it's hard to to really have a team. But I like Stanford. They're they tend to win. And if they don't win, they're at least respectable. And yeah, I'd go with Stanford.
All right, so you're a Stanford guy.
Yeah,
I'm Cal.
All right,
Cal.
That's a good pick.
Like their uniforms. Don't like that they don't have any money, which is amazing to me considering all the alumni that have come out of there, all the Tech alumni. And I mean, they have zero money in the athletic department and the school. I think they were like, yeah, we have to triple tuition. But by the way, they're in the Bay, so like everything's more expensive than it should be anyway there.
Right.
But yeah, for whatever reason, who's their coach now? Sonny Dykes, or is he out? I don't even know who their coach is.
Oh no, it's Justin Wilcox or something like that.
Stop it.
Wilcox.
It is. Wow, it is. Who is this guy? Well, he came from Washington.
Yeah. Man, look at me. I sound like I know what I'm talking about.
Did you prepare? Did you prepare for this?
Not at this level, no. I mean, I guess it's just something that I knew.
Yeah, it was at DC it was at DC at Wisconsin last year.
I'm feeling pretty good about myself right now.
You should, because by the way, nobody knows who the coach at Cal is.
Yeah. I mean, in my mind, I am strutting.
All right, let's go back to whatever the hell else you were going to talk about, because I'm not thinking about you strutting.
All right, so you brought up the Big Ten and separating them by uniform color. Who do you think wins the Big Ten this year? Is this finally Harbaugh's year to win it, or is it just a pipe dream for him?
How long do you think they're going to give him? I mean, like reality here.
If he doesn't win that conference this year, he's still going to be safe for the next few years. But if he doesn't start winning that conference, I think his attitude and his behavior is going to start to wear on people. And I said that before. I think that how he acts and what he says and how he says it, that's all well and good while you're either in the honeymoon period or if you're actually winning something of substance. Winning the division, to me, based on how he is not winning something of substance. If he isn't able to start winning that conference and getting to the playoff, that honeymoon period's going to end pretty quick for him.
I think he needs to do two things. doesn't matter the order actually that this happens, but I guess one would possibly get you the other. Is that your phone?
No.
Oh, that's weird. Must have been. Okay, I have no idea where my other phone is. He needs to beat Ohio State.
Yes, absolutely.
One, because I live in Ohio and I'm sick of hearing about 2,535 days since Michigan's beaten Ohio State or whatever that number. I mean, there's like a clock if you go to the Varsity Club on High Street in Columbus. There's like it counts up constantly. I would like to see that reset to 0. 4 zeros is even better.
All right.
Not because I like Michigan and not because I hate Ohio State. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of hearing about it. But you know what? And honestly, like this is going to be what I tell the people who, when I wear my Navy stuff and the Army people come to me, oh yeah, we beat you last year. And I go, yeah, 13 in a row before that. So that's actually what that would turn into for the Ohio State people. Like, yeah, but we beat you like 10 years in a row. So kind of the same thing, but I would still. Yeah, go ahead.
Real quick, since you brought up Navy.
Missouri, here we go.
No, nothing. No, it's about Navy. Nothing to do with Missouri.
Niumatalolo, by the way, if you could say that.
Okay. All right. Great. But I realized through my sister's Facebook activity, she is friends with a woman who is married to an assistant coach at Navy.
Really?
Yeah. I had no idea because she, I don't know, liked some picture of this little kid eating dinner at her dad's office. And I'm looking at this picture going, that looks like a football coach's office. And sure enough, last name is Davis. I forgot what his first name is.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, so it's kind of interesting because I know you're a huge Navy fan. When I saw that, I immediately thought of you.
Go Navy, beat Army.
Yeah.
Making a comeback.
So,
got those new uniforms.
Right, yeah. All right, so back to Michigan.
And other than beating Michigan or Ohio State, he needs to get to Indianapolis. He needs to get to the Big Ten Championship.
Yeah, I completely agree with you.
He doesn't need to win it. He just needs to get to Indianapolis, and I think that extends him, quote unquote, for another 3 years.
Yeah. I'll agree with that 3 year window. I think we're talking the same language on that.
Yeah.
But there's going to come a point where his behavior is going to, I really think, is going to start to wear on everybody if he doesn't actually get to the football playoff and actually win that conference.
Yeah, I think winning the conference is more important than the playoff because it's so difficult to get there, you know. And I think obviously if you win the conference, you're going to get in. I think for most people that, honestly, I think if this year, if you took Michigan to Indianapolis, I think everybody's happy. And I think everybody would get off.
Yes, this year. Yes.
Even if it's next year.
Absolutely, this year.
Even if it's next year, honestly. I mean, if they beat Ohio State but lose to Penn State and Penn State's good. Like, I think most people have Ohio State, Penn State, then Michigan. You know, so I think if they beat Ohio State, he's fine. You know, I think that monkey is off his back. He's beaten Ohio State for the first time in what feels like 50 years. And then if next season he gets to Indianapolis, wins or loses, I think he's fine. You know, I think that is a good measure of success for everybody in Ann Arbor, which, by the way, is still a whore. I think that's hilarious that people say that. And every time I say that, I'm going to say that as well. I don't care what my Catholic friends say. Sorry, Seth. I mean, that's funny, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
I mean, that's classic. That's classic. That's absolutely classic. My other favorite one, what time is it? Blah, blah, blah. Michigan still sucks. That's also great.
All right, that's the same stuff that back in the 90s would go on between Missouri and Kansas fans. It's like, you know, I'd be on bus trip, Missouri and Kansas
fans.
Yeah. So we'd be on band trips.
Oh my God! Here we go.
You know,
this is it.
Middle of the night or whatever. You know, we're like in the middle of nowhere at like 2 a.m, and someone just pipes up out of nowhere. What time is it? And everyone yells, "It's like 1 a.m. and Kansas still sucks. Moose blank this long."
We've jumped the shark, folks. I make a solid Ann Arbor is a whore reference, and the next thing I know, we're talking about Missouri and Kansas at 1 a.m. in the morning. What is going on in my life right now? What is going on in my life?
Well, you've got a Mizzou guy on your podcast. That's what's going on in your life. A Mizzou guy who legally lives in Lawrence, Kansas.
This makes complete sense. This makes absolute sense to me.
All right, so back to Harbaugh again. Do you think he retires at Michigan, or do you think he finds his way back to the NFL?
I don't think he does either. Nope.
No,
I don't.
He stays in the college ranks.
I think he could. Okay, so I see a scenario where he could stay at Michigan for 10 years and then be done coaching. I guess that qualifies as retiring, but I think he goes to television.
It's not far-fetched.
I think he's done with the NFL. One, how much money does he need? Two, why the headache? Why the headache of the NFL?
Yeah, he'd be good. He'd be great on TV. I mean, he has a personality for it. You know, he likes to entertain people. You know, I mean, he likes to talk. He likes to entertain people. So yeah, put him on TV.
53 years old, retired. You know, be done with football at 60. Whatever. I'm gonna go on TV for the next 30 years. It's fine. That's what I would do.
That's a good life.
It's a very good life. Was he getting $6 a year? Whatever.
Sounds right.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm good. I don't need any more football. I can. You know what? I might wear black pants today. Don't tell anybody. You know, whatever. It's fine. It's fine. I mean, how much longer can one person do this? And I know it's Nick Saban's 65, but like you said, Nick Saban wants to be Bear Bryant, wants to have all the championships. By the way, he already has a statue, so I don't know if they're going to build him another statue or name something after him, or
they'll put the halo over his head.
Can they rename the field at Bryant Denny? Like I mean, I don't know what they're gonna do for him when he leaves.
Or like name the locker room after him.
That's not good enough. You can't name a locker room after Nick Saban after he beats Bear Bryant. Bryant Denny Stadium. Let's see who that field's named after. It's got to be named after somebody. Hang on.
All right.
I always do this, which never makes any sense to me. Is they name the field after somebody. What's his name? Paul. By the way, 920 Paul Bryant Drive. Right. That's the address of the stadium. So they have to name the field after somebody here. Where do I go? George Denny, president. They could take his name off. Nobody would care. It could be Saban Bryant Stadium or Bryant Saban Stadium, or they would have to name the field. Didn't they do that to Spurrier at Florida?
Yes.
Or did they name the end zone after him? Or
No, I thought it was the field.
Yeah, that's what they'll have to do for Saban. I mean, what are you going to do? Rename the basketball arena after him? I mean, you have to do something for the guy. Stadium or a statue is not enough. You can't name a locker room after him.
Yeah. Name the field after him.
Have to.
That's what Missouri did for Don Farrow. Don Farrow.
The title of this podcast is going to be Who? Who?
I mean, you know, Don Farrow is arguably the grandfather of option football.
Well, you know, my friends at the service academies appreciate Don Farrow,
yes,
or Farrow, or whatever his name is here.
Farrow.
Yeah. Who? Farrow. Oh, okay.
Missouri plays at Memorial Stadium on Farrow Field, and they have a big ass statue of him out front too. So they have the statue and the field being named after him. So Alabama should just follow in Missouri's footsteps with that.
Yeah, that'll probably be the only time that Alabama football follows in Missouri's footsteps. That's it right there, folks. That's literally the only time ever. It's probably it. Do you
Make it
think
happen.
There's ever been a coach, there probably has, that was at Missouri and got promoted to Alabama?
Not promoted to Alabama, but Dan Devine went from Missouri to Notre Dame. I don't know if he was at the Packers for a couple of years in between there, but yeah, he went from Missouri to Notre Dame. And I want to say Frank Broyles, I think, may have been at Missouri for a little bit before going to Arkansas.
Yeah, so
not the same as going to Notre Dame, but
Devine did 3 years in Green Bay before he went to Notre Dame.
Okay. Yeah, he was the Rudy coach.
I've seen the movie.
Yeah, Devine hates that movie because he was horribly misrepresented. Right. Yeah, it's a movie. So, you know, the movie does what movies do. Yeah, I wasn't really aware of it at the time, but I went to junior high school and high school with Dan Devine's grandson.
Where did Devine's grandson go to college?
I want to say he went to Washington University in St. Louis. He's like a surgeon now or something like that.
Those kids are no slouches.
Yes, it is.
What are they? Those aren't the Salukis. What are those? Washington University.
No. You're thinking of St. Louis University, Billikens. I don't know what Wash U's mascot is. I think they're pretty big in soccer.
They're the Bears.
Oh, all right. I had no idea.
What conference? Oh, the UAA. They're in with wow, that's actually a pretty good. That's actually a pretty impressive conference. Brandeis, Carnegie Mellon, Case Western Reserve, beautiful Cleveland, Ohio, Emory, NYU, UC Chicago, which by the way used to be in the Big Ten, a founding member of the Big Ten, University of Rochester, and Washington University. Nobody knows that University of Chicago was like a founding member of the Big Ten. Nobody knows that.
Yeah, I certainly didn't.
Founding member, which is crazy. They were smart enough to get out. So was Purdue, and they were smart enough to stay in.
Don't be part of any organization that's willing to have you.
Get out. You gotta go.
It's the Groucho Marx mentality of conference member affiliation.
Hey, can I say? Illinois, Minnesota, Northwestern, Purdue, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Chicago, founding members of the Big Ten.
Wow.
So how about that? 1896. The B1G.
Conference expansion and conference realignment's been going on since the beginning of college sports.
That's very observant of you, Seth. That's
kind of like money always running rampant through politics.
Tell the people where they can find you, Seth.
You can find me on Twitter at Seth Marenbloom, and you can find all of my writing over at campuspressbox.com.
Damian Bowman, DAMIEN BOWMAN on Twitter. Damian.Bowman at campuspressbox.com. Sportshacks.com, SPORTSHAX is an X-ray.com, COM. 4lights.fm /shows, I think, or sportshacks.com /podcast. You can find everything you need there. Show notes. Join us in the forums, forum.sportshacks.com. We are literally everywhere on Twitter, Facebook. Don't forget you can subscribe to this podcast and tune in, Stitcher Radio. Oh, speaking of, if you have one of those fancy Alexa devices, Alexa, turn on or tune in Campus Press Box Podcast. Boom. It'll pop up for you. Seth, do you have an Alexa Amazon thing or whatever?
I don't. I don't, but I'm impressed that, Alexa will recognize us.
Oh, yeah, we're everywhere. Do you have Tune In your car?
I do not.
Okay. Well, if you did, you could listen to our podcast in your car without having to download a fancy podcast application. Just tune in to campuspressbox.com. See how they did that? Tune in to? How about that? Fancy, right?
Yeah, crafty.
Yeah, nifty. Yep. I think that's it for us. So thanks for listening, everybody, and I guess we'll see you soon. I guess maybe we'll stay on topic next time. We'll see.
Yeah, doubtful with the two of us.
Yeah, oh my God. So do you remember? Okay. So now we're going to turn to politics here. Do you remember when Kerry was running for president? Do you remember this? I just found out about this the other day. Actually, Jake told me that when he was running, I guess it came out that he had this beach house and he had a car elevator in the beach house. Do you remember this?
I don't remember this. No.
So I guess they were making fun of him because he has like 5 cars on the beach. Whatever. By the way, he's a billionaire. So they have more than one car. I mean, I know you know this.
Yeah, partially because of the Heinz fortune that he married into, but yeah,
and Bain and Company. I mean, he kind of had his own money.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not saying he was ultra rich, but obviously, Teresa Heinz Kerry or whatever is the key to his retirement apparently.
Yeah.
Or am I thinking of Romney? Maybe Romney had the garage with the elevator.
Yeah, I don't recall.
Either way, one of these two people, senator or the governor, whatever, when they were running for president, comes out that they have the house, not the main house, but the secondary house, the alternate house, auxiliary house, ancillary house. And they have these cars, and they can't get all the cars in. So they put Have you ever been to Boston?
No, I have not.
Okay, so in Boston, this is very common, actually. If you live in an apartment complex
and
they have a garage, it's probably common in a lot of places. We just don't have it in Cleveland.
It's common in Baltimore now also.
Oh, exactly, right, where there's limited space. So so obviously you cannot just build garages. So what you do is you put elevators inside the garages.
Yeah.
So you put your car in the elevator, and then it goes above the car that's below you. It's very common.
Right.
Well, apparently, who are we talking about? Not McCain. Who did we just say? Romney
or Kerry?
Right, one of these two East Coast elite guys, which is probably you and me also. Who knows? We are
Maybe.
podcasting during the day, so what does that say about us?
I'll plead the fifth on that one right now. Thank
Me
you.
as well. So these guys have these car elevators, and they get roasted in the election. And I guess this comes out like 2 weeks before the election. Everybody goes, "Well, can't vote for that guy. He's not in touch with America." And then 8 or 9 or 10 years later, look who's in the White House.
Right. I mean, if they were in touch with America, they wouldn't be politicians. But that's my cynical view of politics, also, and the people that are in it.
Who do you think? Wow, this would be tough because we don't have the list in front of us. This is a good side cast for another time. The richest and poorest senator, if there is such a thing, in the United States Senate.
The richest and poorest.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty tough,
So,
right?
well, so are you talking about total
Net worth.
Total. All right. So net worth. So even if we're talking about money that they made not attached to their political career.
No, I mean the money that their net worth right now. So if we look at whatever Senate this is, the 453rd Senate, whatever Senate class this is, right? Their net worth right now. I mean, obviously we don't have the list in front of us, so it's very difficult. But
yeah.
But I mean, I think that would be.
I think Harry Reid would be way up there.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
I do. I think he would be way up there.
Hang on here.
And maybe someone like John Huntsman, if he's still.
All right, what is this?
If he's still in D.C.
Okay, so this is
Nancy Pelosi, maybe pretty high up there
so
too with all the investments.
This is 2012. Okay, so this doesn't help. By the way, don't forget Jay Rockefeller was in there. Was a senator.
All right.
So, but he's not it. In 2012, top 10 senators: Mark Warner, $257 million net worth. Mitch McConnell, only $22 million. Again, 2012.
Okay.
Bottom 10: Kirsten Gillibrand. Is she one of yours? Is she from Missouri? She sounds like she's from Missouri. I say that because
I don't think so.
I wasn't trying to be, Missouri sucks, but New York. No. She's from New York. I apologize. She's after. I think she was after Clinton. Actually, I think she took Clinton's place. If my memory serves right. Yeah, she did. Absolutely. Yep, she replaced Clinton. Don't ask me how I know that.
You're a politics guy, poli-sci.
Poli-sci. And then, actually, no, that's not. Oh, $291,000. Okay. Wow. And then there's no way this guy's still whatever. But Mark Pryor.
The ex-pitcher.
Yeah, from Arkansas. So his total net worth, there's no way. Wow, $8,500. Was a senator from 2003 to 2015.
Huh.
University of Arkansas. Did he play football there? Doesn't say. Lawyer. Net worth $8,500 in 2012.
I wonder what goes into or what went into calculating those numbers.
Well, it's got to be their disclosure reports, right? It's got to be their financial disclosure reports. I mean, we know everything about these guys.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not information on highest salary, understanding about changes in their net worth. Calculated by Open Secrets reports on disclosed information from 2012. The latest batch of numbers shows 113th Congress had a median net worth of $1 million. This is the first time in history that the majority of members are millionaires. So 113th Congress, so that's everybody, not just that's the House and the Senate. So, where's the Senate? Where's representatives? Okay, Darrell Issa, ready? Darrell Issa.
All right.
Oh my God, what's his $464 million?
What's he done to accumulate that?
He must be. It's from Cleveland. Didn't know that. Major contributor for recall election of Gray Davis. Remember Gray Davis?
Yeah, the name sounds familiar.
Of California, that got recalled. It was recalled,
all right.
Years ago. Yeah, it doesn't have anything about him in here. Again, personal gain index. Yeah, this is absolutely $464 million. He's got to be related to somebody, right?
Or there's just really good money to be made in having hearings that go on and on forever.
49th district. I can't believe I actually didn't know he's from Cleveland, Ohio. Kent State. Can't read, can't write. Kent State.
Huh. Hey, that's where Saban won too.
Served as a CEO of Directed Electronics, by the way, which is DEI. Yeah, okay. DEI Holdings, New York City, blah, 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 Charles Capital Partners. So I have no idea what they car security products. So that's probably what it is. Viper alarms. Viper alarms. Daryl Lyson.
Oh.
There it is.
All right.
Yeah, never would have
had no idea.
Never in my life would I have guessed that. ICE is still in the
Right,
House of Representatives. Right? He would never leave.
That's
Yeah,
as far as I know.
2019, his term ends. So, yeah. David Valadao.
Never.
Yeah,
Never heard of
from California's 21st district. He obviously makes 174 a year. Net worth. This is not good. By the way, this is not good if you are in charge of the purse strings of our country. 2012, net worth was negative $12,000. Now, I don't know a whole lot about accounting. But I would say if your accountant or the person who's responsible for your money is in the red in their personal finances, that could be a problem.
Yeah, it could be. But I mean, we're talking about the government also. I mean, balanced budget, surplus.
Yeah.
Come on.
Depends on what we're doing with it. But I'm okay with running a negative deficit if we're doing the right things with the money. But if we're just screwing around,
but
spent $4 million in this campaign, has nothing. Diploma. Did you go to college? Yeah, college at Sequoias, wherever that is. I feel like they were in the.
Oh, okay. I'm going to pull it back to Missouri. College. That's a JUCO. I think that Missouri has placed quite a few football players at, and then got them cycled back to Missouri once they cleaned up their academic acts there. I want to say Sheldon Richardson was funneled through College of the Sequoias.
Is that the campaign donor, or is that Sheldon Adelson?
You're thinking Sheldon Adelson, who has all of his casino money in Vegas. Yeah, Sheldon Adelson, Sheldon Richardson. I mean, who can tell the difference?
Right. It's fine.
Yeah.
So there you go. Your daily politics, whatever part of the podcast. So. Politicast, the richest and poorest members of Congress, House and Senate, right here for you. I would ask you who do you, other than Trump, richest president?
In the history of the presidency?
Yeah. In today's dollars.
In today's dollars?
Well, I mean, you can use those dollars. I mean, whatever. This one's easy.
I don't even know where to begin. I mean, I kind of want to say old man Bush, but that's probably not right. Probably have to go back to somebody in kind of like the early 1900s or something like that.
Yeah, George Washington.
Wow.
525 million.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then Jefferson, and then Roosevelt.
All right. Well,
yeah, you would think it would be like Kennedy or somebody like that, right? Like Kennedy, the Kennedys are pretty rich. I mean, James Madison. I mean, all these guys had money. Kennedy's number 10 though.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it's absolutely incredible the amount of money these guys have. But you're right. Once you get a politics, you're rich. Except for unless you're Jim Abu Dhabi or whatever that guy's name was, who's negative 12,000.
Right.
Probably on the campaign. He's probably on the House Finance Committee or something.
Right. Or like Charlie Rangel being on like the Ways and Means Committee while
I mean, how the hell does that happen?
Right. While he doesn't pay his taxes on like his Puerto Rican properties or something like that.
You would think that if you're on the Ways and Means Committee that you could maybe call up somebody to get that taken care of.
Yeah, maybe
before they found out about. I mean, look, I'm not connected at all. But I would say that if I were on that committee and I knew I wasn't paying taxes for some illegal alien or immigrant or whatever we call them this week, I might make a phone call. I mean, I've only been on a committee for 25 years.
Right, get it cleaned up because you know it's coming out
at some point. I mean, it's New York, right? Isn't he from New York?
Right.
I mean, that might. Other than Illinois, New York is obviously the most corrupt political state in this country. It has to be, and Alabama's right after that.
Yeah,
I don't know if they have a governor anymore.
Well, this idea that money is what corrupts politics, and it's all this and in this day and age, it ignores the fact that there's been a steady flow running through politics since the beginning of politics.
Right.
Really.
Right.
So this idea that there was this time where we didn't have all of this money in politics, and that's when politics were, all pure and, truly for the good of the people. Oh, that's nice to believe, but
Yeah, it's cute.
It's just, it's cute, but it's, just, head in the sand mentality.
Absolutely.